All right, so I was doing a little pre-call information. We were just talking a little bit about, we just came back from an event. We had our leadership retreat in Orlando, Florida this weekend. So all the leaders are just kind of getting back into the swing of things, and my voice sounds really bad. I'm sorry, because when I talk a lot, I tend to lose my voice. So the good thing is I don't have to do all the talking tonight because we have a very special guest with us. So Darin Olien, you guys should probably recognize his face at this point. He is the creator of Shakeology. Isabel Deichler and Darin created Shakeology, and it's been one of the things that has been most impactful, not only in my life personally, but actually in both of Matt and myself, our families, our parents, our kids, the people around us. And it's actually something that we have not missed a day in 6 years since we started Shakeology. So I know what a difference it's made for me, but I also remember the day that I made the initial purchase for Shakeology, and coming from the person that had no idea what proper nutrition was all about. I knew nothing about clean eating. I knew nothing about reading the packages on the food that I was eating. Matt was like, what the heck did you just spend $130 on? And his exact words were like, you are crazy, and that was the one bag you will purchase, and you'll never buy that powder again. And so it probably took him on 6 months before he actually tried Shakeology. And so I got enough customers to pay for it so that I didn't have to actually pay for Shakeology each month. But the cool part is I just kind of let him ease into it. It sat on the shelf for a while before he decided to try it. And from the minute we went to our very first summit, it was a full year after I'd been coaching. And he listened to you speak about Shakeology, listened to Carl speak. And he came home, and that was when T25 was launched, and he decided that he was going to do T25, and that's when he started drinking Shakeology, and it's never looked back. So,
Nice.
yeah, so it's been an awesome experience from us to be able to say, as those frugal people that were not willing to invest in our health, how much of a difference it's made in our immune system and just in the health of our bodies. So we know the value in it, but we have a lot of new people that are listening to this call tonight, a lot of new teammates and a lot of leaders in here. And I know I shot you over some questions ahead of time. So I'm going to kind of pass it over to you and maybe just introduce yourself to them and give them some background. And then you let me know how you want to run the call, if you want me to ask you the questions or if you just want to kind of go through them.
Yeah, I mean, you can loft the questions. I'll probably go off on many tangents, and then if you want to just loft them to make sure we're hitting all of the questions that you want,
Sure.
that would be great. But thank you, and it's great to be here. Thanks for telling me that story, because it never gets old. And a little bit about me, I'll keep it very brief. But it's funny. I say that and I said, well, I was born 3.5 pounds, and that's relevant. I was premature, and it set me on a trajectory of realizing that this body is very fragile and vulnerable. And that's important for this discussion, because as I grew up and I had some complications, when I hit 13, I did a cleanse, which changed some foods for me, and ultimately realizing on an experiential level that food has power over how I felt. And as a child in middle America in Minnesota, surrounded by cornfields, that was a very important key that I hit. And at 16, I picked up my first dumbbell, and then realized that now the fragility that I was feeling as a child, I could then now start to control by what I ate and what I did with my body. So that being said, coming into college, I was playing college football. I got injured, tore my lower back, and that was it for my career. And the regular world of allopathic and PTs and all of that stuff only took me so far. And the frustration and the depression of not being able to function anymore in that capacity that I wanted to sent me down and said, I'm going to study this. So physiology, nutrition, switched my major, And then ultimately, once I started to get a few little nuggets of knowledge, I started looking at packages and supplements, and then I realized, wow, why are these things not done very well? Like they're marketed in a way that it should be good, but the more I learned and the more I peeled back the layers, the more I realized, wow, either these people don't know or they don't care. And it's really that simple. And so I took it upon myself to start formulating. And in that process, for me, ethically, I really had to go to the places of origin around the globe, meet the farmers, get my hands dirty, understand how these ingredients actually were set up, and how they're processed. So I had every intention of creating my own business and finding all these new interesting things. And in that journey, it just so happens one of the guys I had hired ran into Isabel, and she said, "Hey, I'm trying this thing out with my then boyfriend at the time, and I think we want to do some sort of shake." And then my buddy said, "Oh, you've got to meet Darin," because Isabel didn't want to take it on fully herself. So instantly we met. Instantly we had a symbiotic connection in terms of how we viewed the world of nutrition. And then kind of Isabel always laughs because she's like, "Well, I ultimately hired you." but then as I met Carl, his passion, and I already turned down a big company because I didn't want to get caught into the lack of integrity aspect of business. And I believed Carl when we first met. And it's very important that you hear that, because I believed him, and I still believe him, that he cares. He made a deal with us that he would never compromise on the quality. And so that being said, Isabel and I could constantly be involved. Her and I both have said if there was compromise in this thing, that in terms of quality, then we'd no longer be around. So that's an important thing to understand. Chaga, hold on, my dog's going crazy. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. That was my dog Chaga, which is also an ingredient in Shakeology. So the whole deal was really set by Isabel and by Carl and us coming together. And that's very important because that hasn't changed. There's ups and downs with the business, why we choose certain things, what will scale up. Some will, some won't. Some processes don't meet our standards, so we have to change the formulation based on what's safe, what's good, what's effective, what's the highest quality. And I'll get more into that. I think that's one of the questions, to get more into kind of the differentiating factors of Shakeology. But anyway, that's the story. That's how I ended up here. That's the quick little who I am and how I ended up here, and the little start of Shakeology.
Very cool. Cool. All right. So one of the things that I even remember 6 years ago, right? So you obviously, this is your background. This is what you've studied. This is what you do. Now we want to take this and speak to this in such a way that consumers are going to understand. So, what are some things that you could share with these coaches that can help them to explain Shakeology to their customers?
Great question, and easy and not easy to answer. Now, the thing that I would say is I always believe knowledge is power. So also don't take my word for it. So I often say to people, look up, for example, Shizandra berry. And I'm not saying become an expert, but look at it in terms of how much it can contribute to someone's health. So I really look at it in the terms of, let me just say, in terms of understanding the genesis of Shakeology, and that is, what is it? And if you were to say in a couple sentences, I would say Shakeology is really it's filling the gaps and really providing missing links to our modern day issues. Those modern day issues are incredibly nutrient poor food with volumes of food. We have a lot of volume of food, but our soils are depleted and all of that stuff. So it's providing missing links of nutrient density, filling in the gaps that we all need to live more optimally, so that with, by the way, some of the greatest botanicals in the world. Now, we have set out around the globe, not just grabbing things and throwing them in the bag. A lot of these botanicals have been used for thousands of years with the micronutrient delivery that they have. The schizandras, the moringas, the chagas, these things, when you look, which I say, look up one of these things and see that it's revered by these cultures, by these people. So it's filling in the gaps with the nutrient-dense food and greatest botanicals in the world, providing what? The micronutrients, the phytonutrients, the cellular food. It's not about carbs, proteins, and fats per se. Although we're balanced in that, it's really about these micronutrient botanicals that are there to provide you the missing links, unfortunately, that our modern day world of stress, of toxic loads of air, water, and food itself, and low quality food. So we said, hey, why don't we run around and test these things, make sure they have what they're supposed to have in it, and so that we can provide that kind of that catalyst. I look at Shakeology as a catalyst. I look at it as, you described you drinking it every day in your family. Well, it's a catalyst to get those botanicals in you that we very carefully test to make sure that they have what's supposed to be in there, so that by doing that on a daily basis, that your body then builds the constitution that it knows how to build. Because if we're stressed, if we're taking in just regular food or standard American food or convenient food or cheap food, that will add up to your detriment over time. So what I'm saying is, what an opportunity Isabel and I had. Wow, we get to find and put together some of the greatest botanicals in the world, and then put this in a pretty bag, have Beachbody, the incredible engine that it is, send this out. And that is the greatest gift in the world for her and I and everyone at Beachbody, because we get to stand behind being that catalyst so that Shakeology can do its thing. It's not about it's a miracle. It's about these are incredible botanicals that, when taken over time, helps facilitate your body. So that, in a nutshell, is the genesis behind the responsibility that both Isabel and I kind of took on. We're like, wow, this is an opportunity to get what we've worked with for years and get that out that in a way that people can actually receive it and it tastes good, because it's a challenge to formulate this thing when you have a lot of strong botanicals in it. But anyway, there's a lot. So it's a delivery system. It's a catalyst. It's a delivery system of these really great ancient botanicals that have been used for thousands of years.
Okay. So people, then one of the other things too is, how do you, when you're talking to somebody about why they should drink Shakeology, how do you talk to people differently that are in their 20s versus, there's all these different marketing points. What are some key things you can just give to them that they can share or put in their memory bank as they're talking to people?
Well, again, I would say education is key. Understanding at least the pillars of what Shakeology has. You don't have to become an expert, but be familiar with them. So you have prebiotics and probiotics, for example. Okay, so be familiar with that. That helps feed the microbiome of the body. Okay, cool. That's all I need to kind of know. And that helps the immune system and mood and all of that stuff. And you have all of these different pillars. But the first thing I would say when talking to regular people is the best thing to do is ask them questions, because they will feed you exactly where they're at in terms of what it is that they're looking for. Because I can turn to one 20-year-old girl and one 20-year-old boy, and they have completely different realities. So if I'm throwing this to a 20-year-old girl, she may go, hey, I don't have the energy I had anymore, and I got to study for a test, and I can't. Okay, so what does that look like? When did the energy go? And so you just start engaging with people. That's the biggest thing that is, because listen, I have never once in 10 years, I started formulating this thing in 2006. In 10 years, I've never sold Shakeology once. I've only spoken about it. I've only shared. I've only asked questions. And then if people are open to them potentially providing an answer for their inquiry, like if a 20-year-old kid says, well, I want to get strong and buff and all of that stuff. Okay, well, do you realize that adaptogens help your body recover and deal with the stress of working out? At the same time, dude, you're getting all of these amazing proteins, this balanced carbohydrates, and essential fibers, along with these enzymes, and enzymes help you rebuild your body and all of that stuff. So the next thing you know, I didn't really have to know much right there, but I knew enough to ask him a question and to go into there. So, and an older person, the first thing that comes for me, like a 50-year-old or plus, I would say, my favorite grouping probably in Shakeology is the adaptogenic herbs that we have. And these things are so powerful in the ability of your body to deal with stress of any kind, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Any kind of stress that you're dealing with, adaptogens really come in. If you just say that, are you stressed? How many people on this planet will raise their hand and say, yeah, I'm not, most of them are like, hey, I'm not really recovering like I used to when I was 20. Did you know that there's enzymes, probiotics, and adaptogenic herbs in this one formula, and it tastes amazing? And all of a sudden they go, oh yeah, but does it have protein? Well, of course it has protein. So it's that kind of thing that you don't have to be me or Isabel or a nutritionist, but once you just understand adaptogen stress, prebiotics, probiotics help your body break down food. Enzymes help you repair, recover. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing that if you just get that, and I always say, grab an herb and just look into it and just learn about it, because it really is amazing that this beautiful bag that just shows up for you has come from places around the world. Right? I've been in remote China eating Schizandra berry off of a vine, and to be able to get that healthy and the quality and make its way all the way to the United States in order for it to be tested and correct to get it into that bag, that's a journey. And so this is a very, very special product. And there's a reason why the people that have consistently drank it have consistent benefits from it.
Yeah. It is the truth. And I mean, I can tell even in my digestion, such a difference coming from somebody that has lived with IBS my entire life. Just the shift and the change, but it was a process to get myself there. My body really had to adjust to the change in the nutrients. So yeah, I like it. One of the things I tell new coaches is to look at Shakeology and treat it as if you were, like, you think about a pharmaceutical sales rep. Before they go and represent a drug that they're going into a doctor's office, what do they have to do? They are tested. They have to know it inside and out, all the talking points. And that's one of the things I always say is it is our job to understand why it is so good. And there's all these great resources, the Shakeology blog and the podcast that we have, and, all the resources on Team Beachbody. Like, there are more than enough resources out there for you to just gain those talking points that you need.
Absolutely. And listen, we should question everything that's going in our mouth, period, before we're even telling someone else. Like, so when you're taking this amazing product in and you're get familiar with these botanicals and these things, because you're taking it in. And again, don't even take my word for it. Look into this stuff and do some time. I love your point, because it is important. Like, we're so disconnected from food and our nutrients that this is, again, a catalyst to just get educated and be aware, and coming from that place that, I mean, for me, because I'm so involved, no one can kind of come at me with, oh, that's not true. Right. It's impossible. You know what I mean? And so the more you know, and the more you're fed by your experience of feeling it on a daily basis, the more the people, there's not a space where they come in and need to attack, because the truth is what the truth is.
Right. So one of the things you shared, I was at New Leader Conference this past year, and it was like my favorite presentation you have ever done. It was perfect. But I think what I loved the most about that was you talked about the integrity of Shakeology, but I loved how you talked about other products out there and the standards. And I think that's just an education piece. Would you share just a little bit of the regulations and supplements and how we're different in that sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of my favorites too, because it's one of those things we have to pass it on, because you can't get that information by just turning over a bag. It's really easy in the supplement world for people just to match the ingredient and, oh, it's got to be the same. It's the same on the bag. It's the same, but it's absolutely not true. It's the Wild West out there. We have an FDA, but the FDA does not and cannot test and find and track and monitor all of these things. The only time the FDA steps in is when someone gets hurt, or there's an issue, or there's a recall. It's not a monitoring system of people getting in business and throwing this stuff out. I could create a business in a week and have supplements out there that no one from the FDA or any regulatory company has looked at. I've just put it out there. And yes, you have certain processors that give you the information, or they give you aspects of the ingredients, but by no means does that say it's good, it's effective, or it's safe. Okay? There's certain very small regulatory rules that they have to abide by, but sometimes they just pass the paper back and forth and it's not even monitored. And I can say this with authority, because most of my career in the development and the looking for and the sourcing of and the discovery of certain superfoods, I've been behind the scenes. I've been way back in from farmers all the way through, and I've seen this stuff happen. Some of these guys should be in jail, right? So when our quality assurance team and our research and development team, our team, sends out people to audit in other countries and to go around to see with our eyes, to test with our things, and to make sure that we're getting what is supposed to be there. We're getting the active compounds that we test for each ingredient. We're testing for the things that shouldn't be there, right? Heavy metals, microbiological, all of that stuff. We have a standard at Beachbody that's so far beyond most people that we put our money where our mouth is, because a lot of times the value of Shakeology is the degree at which we're spending tons of money sending people around the globe, testing every batch, testing all of these markers. So when we have so many relationships that are with the processors, with the growers, and they're around the globe, that's a lot of effort and it's a lot of money. And most companies will not spend that because they just believe that it's going to be fine. And it's just a matter of time where something's going to go wrong. And we just are not taking that point of view. And that's a very, very difficult business choice to make. Now, it's something that we need to do. We just ethically, in my DNA and Isabel's DNA and Carl's and now the whole team, we just have to do it. We have to do the right thing. So those are some of the things that we go to. So the testing, the showing up in countries, the fingerprinting of what that compound actually is, both in the country and when it arrives. We do stability testing of all of our stuff as it comes together. There's all kinds of things in the alchemical process. You can't just throw ingredients together and hope that it works. There's a lot of compounds within ingredients that can interact with each other, and we do a lot of safety tests in order for that to show up. So this is just a glimpse, a little glimpse into the huge amount of work that goes on, the unsexy side of Shakeology. That's the quality assurance team, which I love. Those guys kick ass and never get credit. The research and development teams, the guys that kick ass and hold the moral compass and never get credit. And then our operations team that operates the massive wheel of 60 plus ingredients to making sure that we have enough, that we have the right quality, that we're working with the right people. That is something that very few companies can talk about. And they may be able to talk about it, but they're not doing it. And again, it would be horrifying to me if I was involved in a company and certainly helped to formulate something that a company wasn't doing that. So that's a glimpse, and I hope that helps.
That definitely does help. Yeah. So there's been, we've had a couple of formula changes over the past 6-7 years now that I've been around. So one of the most recent ones was the cane sugar versus the stevia. And, a lot of people question that. A lot of people question why, because of course everybody sees sugar and they freak out. So if you want to kind of give them some insight into why that change happened, maybe a little education on that piece would be helpful.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, first off, sugar has been demonized in its natural state, right? So cane sugar, or our organic cane sugar, first off, is a complex molecule and sugar, because it's got the minerals, it's got the vitamins, it's got the whole matrix. So the major reason why we had to shift it because we weren't happy with the stevia producers. There were some things that they just weren't willing to adjust or correct, and it just wasn't worth it for us. A lot of times, some of these guys, they're selling it anyway, so they don't want to do the extra work. And we find this a lot, actually, when we push somebody to go, listen, this isn't correct, but they don't do it because they don't really get the push from everyone else. So we just have to make that hard choice and go, listen, we can't continue with that side, and have to make the very difficult choice of reformulating, because one ingredient changes the whole deal. And the other side of it is, I love organic cane sugar, and don't be afraid of sugar. Sugar is not an evil on its own. It's a cascade of things. If you're not taking care of yourself, eating saturated fat, your insulin receptors are going to be shot. And then if you're eating a ton of horribly processed sugar in the process, coming together of just those two examples creates a horrible situation for insulin receptors. So the point is, don't jump on the bandwagon that, oh my God, now it's organic sugar. By the way, we actually lowered the amount of sugar in the overall formula. So we're also getting sugar as a contribution to some of the other super fruits that are naturally in there. So the amount, I can't say because it's proprietary, but the amount of organic sugar is way less than any other formula that we've had. And so we're super proud of that. If I told you exactly how much organic cane sugar we actually have to use, you'd be like, oh, it's a minuscule amount. So I understand that, but it's actually a really great sugar. It's organic. There's minerals and vitamins, and our glycemic load, by the way, which you should be listening to and looking at more than reacting to just an ingredient. Our glycemic load has even gone down significantly less. So that tells you the amount of sugar contribution in the formula as it relates to the biology that is less and less. We've made an improvement. And like I told you in the beginning, we will never go down in quality. There's always a reason. We are sometimes shifting sideways for this situation, bad ingredient, and an opportunity to actually lower the glycemic index, to which we came away with a win.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah. So, and then the other question too, kind of two parts on this one, was like the vegan Shakeology versus the regular Shakeology, and there's some difference, so can you kind of explain that part of it too?
Yeah, so you're probably relating to the vitamins and minerals, the profile. So way back when Isabel and I were playing with the formulas and the whey and the plant-based and all of that stuff, we came to the, yes, it's beneficial for some people to have added vitamins and minerals. So we decided as the original formula to go in that direction. But also the other side of it is it's a very difficult to give exactly what everyone needs because everyone's different. So you have to be very clear with the Institute of Medicine, the USDA, and all of the standards to what is the latest research. So that being said, I'll pause there for a second. So we put it in the original. The vegan, we wanted it to just be in its natural state within the superfoods. So we made a choice to go, listen, let people do what they need to in the vitamins and minerals. And the vegan, they can just get it all from the naturally occurring vitamins and minerals in the botanicals. The reason we don't have what those are on the package is because you can't standardize something that's food, right? You can't standardize exactly what that mineral might change 2% from the last batch. It may go up, it may go down. That other mineral may go up, it would go down. So you can't, from an FDA's standpoint, put on the bag. So that's why it's not on the bag in terms of vitamin mineral, but you still are getting the vitamins and minerals. It's just not standardized like the added vitamins and minerals on the regular one. The other side is we've made a great shift in terms of the latest research with our science board and the latest FDA and Institute of Medicines. So our daily intake, we've changed the methylfolates, and so the B9s and the B12s, we've increased the quality of those, the availability of those based on the research. Vitamin K, we've increased that. Vitamin D, we've increased that. So we've done a lot of improvements within the vitamins and minerals. So it's really what someone is into. Like for me, I'm I've got my own sorted out. So I just eat vegan and I don't worry about needing to get my vitamins and minerals from Shakeology. So it's just it's a personal choice, but but we're proud of the upgrades, and we're also proud of the botanicals just being on their own and contributing the vitamins and minerals that they are in the vegans.
That's interesting. I did not know that. So I learned a lot from that. It's very informative.
Well, I'm glad you're learning.
That was good. That was really good. And somebody had said, is Activit kind of the vitamin? If somebody drinks vegan and then they still want all the vitamin, is that sort of what your recommendation would be?
Well, I can't recommend to an individual, but that seems like it seems like a great choice in terms of there's this and there's that, and if I feel like I need it, then have at it for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so somebody asked it says, why do we get the heavy metal warning in our products in California?
Yeah, well, Prop 65, more of a legal. So Prop 65 is a way of trying to measure heavy metals in the product, but they're so low, you could grab a bowl of rice and be over Prop 65 on its own. So in terms of the craziness of, I understand the idea of Prop 65, but the way it's actually implemented is more of a legal wrestling match, because there's a lot of, obviously, metals and electrolytes and minerals are part of naturally occurring soil. And I understand what they're trying to do from the industrial metals, but it's a virtual impossibility to be under that. However, we work very closely with people like Consumer Labs, American Botanical Council, our Science Advisory Board. We do a lot of work to see where the contributions of heavy metals come from and do all the things to eliminate them. So just in the legal babble, we just have to put it on there, but we are absolutely within safety standards.
Gotcha. Do you remember when, was it the Dr. Oz show came? Do you remember when that happened? That question actually still comes up all the time. Like, people still bring that article up. What was, why was that why did that all come at us specifically?
Yeah, so that was interesting and bad timing for us, because what had happened is we had flagged a spike in the greenberry formula, right? Because it was just greenberry. And we had flagged it. We had moved rapidly as you can with tons of ingredients into replacing and changing the formula based on the spike that we had received. So we had changed the formula already, and then that came out. So in fact, the formula that they actually had on television, we had already found and replaced. So we got slammed, but we had already done the proactive work of something that we found. And it just so happens that they thought they outed us and another product, but we were already way ahead of it. So things like that, you get questions like that. And by the way, Consumer Labs, who was the investigative company, we've since become very close with, and they know our quality standards, and we both respect each other now. So what came out of that was a great organization that we got connected with, that have the same intentions as we do.
Gotcha. That's good. That's good to know. Thank you. Yeah. All right.
You can answer it with authority next time.
That's good. That is good. I mean, I've read the art. It's been a while, but it just came up the other day for whatever reason. So, okay. Is the allergy warning on the bag a legal issue too, or is it really made in a factory with all of those allergens?
I mean, these are a legal thing. You can't really ever get around this with multiple ingredients, with multiple places to which it's coming from. Let's just set it up in this way. You would have to, even if one of those ingredients was in another wing of the same company way far away, they still would have to put the label on.
Wow.
So it's just a thing where we're so legally sensitive because of our success. We have to be uber conservative with all of these things, because if, God forbid, if one employee from that company that is processing our stuff brings in a glove that processed an allergy and a dust particle got into our thing and someone reacted to it, then we would be liable. And so liable, excuse me. And so we have to cover ourselves from any human thing that could happen.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah.
Just the reality.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, you have to cover your butt,
Yeah.
Okay, so there are questions in the chat bar, and there are a lot of them. And I know we kind of said we would keep it, we wouldn't go super long, but I don't know if you want to sift through those, because I don't want to ignore them, but some of them are more medical, and I want to just what you can and can't do or say, if you want to kind of check those out.
Okay. How does Shakeology affect someone with kidney stones? Yeah. So, I mean, these things I can't answer because they're so connected to so many things.
Mm-hmm.
Kidney stones are a result of issues that were created long before. So if you add anything in, you're already compromised. So you have to really consult a healthcare professional before, if you're having that acute situation, before you could drink Shakeology. And that goes with any condition.
Right.
You have to find, the only thing I would say on that is find a functional medicine doctor, a naturopath, a certified naturopath or functional medicine doctor, someone who has an understanding of nutrition. If you're going to a regular doctor, no offense, they're really smart people, but they don't have a lot of education in that category. So that's what I would recommend, but they have to be they have to be a doctor.
Right.
Let me see. Severe gout, I can't answer that. I can say it's a inflammatory response to a severe acidotic situation. So therefore you need to drive up your alkalinity, fresh foods, water, all of that stuff, without getting too far into that. Why do the vegan flavors taste better than the originals? I don't know. We try to match them as much as possible, but it is such a complex formula. You can't necessarily if we used chemicals and gnarly flavor systems that a lot of other people do, and they taste like
chemicals.
Yeah, exactly. Then you could push that through and make it taste exactly the same, but we don't do that. Right. So some people like one, some people don't. Yeah.
I don't like the regular vegan vanilla at all, but I love the vegan, or I don't like the regular vanilla, but I love the vegan. They're just, my taste buds totally different. Just what I prefer. So, any plans to go organic? Ooh.
Well, that's a big question. So let me just say this, that obviously the times when we can't control, we do. But here's the thing, and here's the thing that I want to stress again. Remember what I was saying about quality and the testing and showing up in countries and doing all that same. We have standards that largely on so much of our stuff are way beyond organic. So Oftentimes organic, and not a lot of people know this, organic standards at a farm level, because that's where it starts, on a farm level, impacts the farmer if it's not already set up in his practice. And even though he's working the field organically, as naturally as possible, oftentimes by going organic, it puts a burden on him. It increases his cost, which increases our cost and changes no quality. That being said, of course, I support all organic creation of food and supplements, of course, especially for the companies, the majority of the companies that do not send their own teams, their own quality assurance, because they don't have this, they don't see the full picture. So to have an organic certification body be their eyes, that's a good thing. We don't need those eyes necessarily all the time, because we are there with our eyes. So for us, our qualities, no pesticides, no herbicides, we test for all those things. We go over and above. I get it, though, that you have to actually explain that to coaches. And I understand that. It's not so easy to just go completely organic when, in fact, even though our quality wouldn't change, our price would change. But more importantly, the organic growing body out there, that the farmers, a lot of these ingredients, we're not even at the capacity that we could even, they would even be, have enough. So we would blow them out of the water with the amount that we're actually going through with Shakeology. So just feel comforted in the fact that we have our teams, that we're doing the work. We're not relying on an organic certifying body to do our work. We're doing it. And we're always, and I'll leave you with this, we're always looking to improve. We're never looking to go lower. We're always looking to improve. So when it makes sense, we do the right thing.
I love it. I love it. All right. So in that last thing, just on that piece, is as we're talking to customers, and people give us that, it's too expensive, or I just can't spend that much money on a shake. We get that every single day. That just is. So what's your response in that?
Well, I have a lot of responses to that. I think, I would first say you can't afford not to. Once you understand what it is that you're actually getting, like I said, if you want to go down the road and buy a Happy Meal for $4.99 or $2.99, whatever the hell they charge for that, you're getting a volume of food, but you're getting nutrient deprived food, and you're also getting toxic food. You can understand that we have spent our lifetime, some of us, traipsing the world to find the botanicals that have been used and proven to help people. And we have gathered them into this bag so that you can thrive. If you are the type of person that wants to believe that you can eat anything and have the quality of life that you truly desire, then we don't need to have a conversation. But if you're the type of person that knows that what you put in your mouth manifests in the kind of body and life and attitude and mind and spirit and all of that stuff that will affect you, that you take responsibility for what you're putting in this vulnerable space, this mouth, then if that is something that you care about, then know that we have spent blood, sweat, and tears to making sure that we're getting that micronutrient bath for your body. It's not, here's the thing. The other thing I will say, because I do have a lot to say on this area, is when I realized the power of food, the first time at 13, didn't do much about it, but eventually it grew on me. In college, more so, and I realized I can't make sense out of lowering my standards of the food that is becoming me. It doesn't make sense. I can be frugal in other areas of my life. The one area I absolutely will not be frugal is what I'm putting in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
The kinds of potency and the beautiful food, the fresh, drink well, eat well, get your superfoods because we're stressed out of our minds. All of that stuff I will not skimp. That's my point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you want to argue that that is not affecting your life, then that's an old way of thinking, and you will wake up one day with the choices that the seat that you're sitting in from the choices you made in the past, and you will have to deal with what it is that you created. And we are creating our body every day. I don't want to be in a body that can't function and can't play and can't have fun and can't do what it is that my spirit wants to do. I don't want to be in that body. So I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to eat well. I'm going to understand what foods are good and what foods aren't, and I'm going to consume those. So that's what I would say, because it's just an area where, I get it. It's a bag that's showing up to your door, and it doesn't make sense. But that's what I mean by coaches just starting to understand that this is not just powder.
Right.
This is tested quality stuff that we have spent a lot of time making sure that is powerful.
Absolutely. Amen. That was perfect. And on that note, I think we're just going to wrap it up because it was awesome. I hope this answered a lot of everybody's questions, and from the comments, it absolutely did. So we appreciate your time a whole lot. Thank you so much for giving us your evening and going over some of these great points. And we'll continue the discussion back in our team page. And this entire month, I'm just going to do extra sharing of resources, things that have really helped me, things that I find, things that help me to explain Shakeology to my customers and help to keep them consuming Shakeology, so they can look at this as preventative medicine versus like reacting to situations. So anyway,
Absolutely.
With that being said, thank you so much. We appreciate your time tonight.
You're so welcome, Melanie. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. I'll post this recording in the team page and you guys can share it with your team. So have a good night. We'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.